Going to get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Wednesday. My name is Kelly Head. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a staff attorney here at ASISTA. Thank you so much for joining us today for our orientation. A few housekeeping matters before we begin. Today's orientation is intended to be an introduction to the wonderful ASISTA benefits that are available to members and some types of OVW grantees. Today's program will be informal, and the hope is that you come away with a solid understanding of how to make the most of your ASISTA member and grantee benefits. Please feel free to use the chat box to ask questions of any of the presenters and to interact with each other throughout today's session. This orientation is being recorded, and the recording will be sent in the coming days to everybody who registered. The slides were also sent today to all registrants. If you have not received those, please check your spam folder. And if you still do not see them, please feel free to email us at questions@asistahelp.org. We'd be happy to send those over to you. And now I'd like to turn it over to our Executive Director, Kirsten Rambo.
Hi there. My name is Kirsten Rambo. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the executive director here at ASISTA. I'm here to welcome you and tell you how glad we are that you're here with us today. Whether this is your first time learning about how to access our services, or you may be a longtime friend of ASISTA here for a refresh, we are happy to have you. I love these orientation sessions because not only do you get to meet and connect with our wonderful team, but you get to learn about the many ways that we are here to help you. It's such critical work that y'all are doing, representing and supporting immigrant survivors. And a big part of our job here at ASISTA is helping you to do that important work. So we hope that you'll enjoy this session. Please feel free to ask us questions. You know, if you're wondering it, probably at least one other person is wondering it as well. And know that we are here and we've got your back as you navigate this landscape of serving immigrant survivors of violence. So happy to be here with you all today. And thank you so much for all that you're doing. And with that, I will turn it back to Kelly.
Thanks so much, Kirsten. Could we go to the next slide, please? Thanks, Maria. So here is our agenda for today's orientation. We're going to start off with introductions of ASISTA's wonderful staff members. Then we're going to move to a discussion of how you can access your ASISTA benefits and navigate our website. And then we'll close with an open discussion of ASISTA's other work and what you all would like to see from ASISTA in the future. And now I will turn it over to Christina.
Hi, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kirsten. I am Christina Velez. I'm the Legal and Policy Director of ASISTA. And I'd like to introduce all of my wonderful colleagues to all of you today. Let's go to the next slide, Maria. Thank you. So here with us today, you've just met her, Executive Director, Kirsten Rambo. Hi, Kirsten. Myself, Christina Velez, I use she, her pronouns. Also with us and running the slides and a lot of the back end is our wonderful program associate, Maria Lazzarino. Maria keeps things moving for all of our trainings and a lot of our back end work. So thank you very much, Maria, for all the work that you do. Also with us, I don't see her. I don't see her, but also at ASISTA is Finance and Communications Manager Alham Musa, who also helps to keep all of our work moving forward. You'll see emails from her. You'll be able to buy t-shirts from her during our campaigns, and you'll have other interactions, I'm sure. Thank you, Alam. Also, today here with us is Senior Staff Attorney Rebecca Isanova, and you'll hear a lot more from her as the presentation continues. And Staff Attorney Leah Ocasio here as well. Thank you, Leah. and Kelly Head, who you've already met and who started us off. So I hope everyone is having a good time already, and looking forward to hearing your thoughts as we go forward with the presentation. So thank you. I think we have a poll, and Kelly's going to start us off.
So for our first poll question, we just want to get a sense of who we're talking to. How long have you been receiving services from ASISTA? Less than 1 year, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, or have you been with us for more than 5 years? Great. So we have lots of new folks with us today. Welcome. Almost half of you have been receiving services from us for less than 1 year. We have a pretty high number been receiving services for 1 to 3 years. And then we have some folks who've been around for longer, 3 to 5 years, and even a few who have been here for 5 or more years. So welcome to all of you. Next slide, please. Okay, and for our second poll question, which ASISTA services and products have you used? And please feel free to select all that apply. We have our listservs, technical assistance, webinars, in-person or virtual trainings, practice advisories, or other. Okay, so we have, I see a vast majority of you have attended at least one of our webinars, so that is great to know. We're so glad to have you attend. We also have a fair amount of you have used our listserv, so that is great. We also see that some have used our technical assistance, which we'll be talking a lot more about today. And then we also see that some of you have attended our trainings and have used our practice advisories. So thank you so much, everyone. Next slide, please. Okay, Maria, this is you.
Hello. So before getting in details of ASISTA benefits, I would like to explain for this call what it means when we say OVW grantees and ASISTA members. So ASISTA received funds from the Office of Violence Against Women to provide services to LAV, which are legal assistance for victim grantees, LAV sub-grantees, and stop sub-grantees. And ASISTA members are the ones that have a private or paid membership with us. And we know that there are more grantees or more OVW grantees in the state, but we will be referring to those that I just mentioned for this presentation. Some organizations that receive OVW funds also join us as private members, and those are the ones that have access to more an additional benefit through ASISTA. So now let's review. ASISTA members and OVW grantee have access to technical assistance, also known as TA, on your immigration cases, including case intervention with USCIS. ASISTA expertise is on you, VAWA cancellation or removal, and related cases, such as adjustment of status, extension, consular processing, etc. We do TAs on trafficking cases, but that's not our main expertise, but we can help you with the trafficking TAs. For OVW grantees, we can help you if your immigration cases are related to, based on arising from any of the 4 crimes that are listed there: domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. That one doesn't mean that if you are filing a T visa case, you cannot access a TA request. We will need additional information to verify that the original crime is one of these 4. And this is because of the limitation that we have under our OVW grant. Both groups have access to free webinars and prior webinar recordings. Again, because of limitation on the grant, we cannot allow OVW grantees to participate in private member and vice versa. This is why we do different webinars, different topics, different systems. And in our outreach piece, we explain if it's an OVW webinar or a member CLE webinar. We also have in-person and virtual training discount that is mainly a benefit for private members because OVW grantees will register with the lowest rate. And when we plan our events, our conferences, we communicate with our grant manager, and sometimes we are able to offer a GAM number where grantees can register without requesting additional steps to use OVW funds. Other time, grantees need to request the use of funds, the use of OVW funds to participate in ASISTA private conferences. But it's up to you to reach out to your members, and if you have funds on the training category to use to participate on ASISTA events. Both groups, OVW grantees and private members, have access to our listserv, and we will review more in detail each of these benefits. So, NEON logins and accounts. This is super important. We created a technical assistance system, SMART, that in order for you to have access to our technical assistant, you need to have an active status in our system, either because your OVW grant is active or because you have an active membership. So most of you may have already have individual account with us, and this is where we store individual records, webinar participation, training participation. Anytime that you request a TA or a case intervention, that record is recorded in your individual accounts. ASISTA uses NEON as the CRM, and this is a system that allows us to store your records. There are some issues sometimes with group memberships, with the non-profits or the law firms that have one main account and sub-members or individual accounts under that main account. So if you need to renew your membership, or if you need to do any edits on your grant status, you will need to log in the main organization account. If you don't have that status renew, you don't need to create additional accounts, because that will not solve the problem. You cannot trick the system. So if you have any problems accessing your account or renewing or editing someone from your organization, there is a section in our website with questions and answers. And if you have any problem, you can send me an email, and we can help you to set up the login, the password, and to see what are the problems. This is how you create an account. You go to our website, www.asistahead.org. You click on the member login on the upper right corner of the screen. Last month, we did this letter bigger, so you can find it easier. And you need to enter your login, which usually is your email address and your password. There are an option to reset your password. And again, if you have issues, send me an email and we will figure it out. If you create additional accounts, but don't submit any membership payment or any OVW status, you will still not have access to our TA portal. If you need to add any sub-member, you can also go to our website, but you will need to log in the organization account to include sub-member or contacts under your organization. On your end, you have some limited power to remove a member from an account, because, as I said earlier, the system stores individual records. I have a little more powers, and if you want to do any update, adding or removing people, and you see that you encounter problems, send me an email and we will fix it. In the screen, you have information how to create account if you are new to ASISTA. Again, on the website, under the member login or under membership section, you choose account that you want to create, complete the form, and submit the button. And now we will go to the technical assistant. I think it's Kelly, back to you, right?
Yes, thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
So now we're going to talk about one of the most important benefits that ASISTA offers to our members and grantees, which is technical assistance. TA for short. It's individualized assistance from one of our attorneys on a particular question or immigrant survivor case. And you'll see here that one of the reasons to request technical assistance is if you want ASISTA to conduct what's called an intervention with your case. We have contacts at the Vermont and Nebraska Service Center where many survivor-based immigration cases are filed, with USCIS headquarters as well as at ICE. If you have an immigrant survivor case where it's stuck, like, you haven't gotten a response from USCIS or there's some sort of other problem with the case, and you've attempted to resolve the situation on your own, but you still haven't been able to get a favorable resolution, you can request an intervention from us. ASISTA, we might be able to escalate the issue with one of our agency contacts. We do require folks to request an intervention by scheduling a TA appointment in the system that Maria was talking about, rather than requesting it by email. And then once you schedule your TA appointment, at the appointment, you'll talk to an ASISTA attorney about your issue, and we'll figure out together whether an intervention is the best solution. Some other reasons to request TA would be, if you have a specific question that you want an answer to, if you just want to talk through your case with someone else and do some brainstorming on a particularly thorny issue that you're having. If you need citations or resources like samples or practice advisories, that could be another reason to request TA. And then also if you need us to review documents, not documents like that you've written, so not like affidavits or briefs, but like if you have an RFE or a NOID or a denial decision that you would like ASISTA to take a look at and give some tips on how to respond, that would be another reason to request a TA. Next slide, please. Just wanted to highlight again the really important information that Maria gave about TA for OVW grantees. The reason that we're able to provide TA to certain OVW funded organizations is because we, ASISTA, have a grant from the Department of Justice Office of Violence Against Women through September 30th of this year to offer training and TA to on survivor-based immigration law issues to LAV grantees and sub-grantees, as well as STOP sub-grantees, and also a new category for this particular grant called potential grantees. A potential grantee is an organization that would be eligible for LAV or STOP funding, even though they don't currently have it. And that includes nonprofit organizations, colleges and universities, including legal clinics, domestic violence and sexual assault coalitions, and government entities, including tribal governments. To be considered a potential grantee for purposes of our TA, your organization cannot have an ASISTA membership. So for example, if you are a nonprofit organization that is also an ASISTA member, for TA purposes, you wouldn't be requesting TA as a potential grantee, you would just request it as an ASISTA member. But if you're one of those organizations, like for example, you're from a DV or sexual assault coalition and you don't have an ASISTA membership, but you wanted to request technical assistance from us, you would do so as a potential grantee. The potential grantee TA that we're able to provide is limited because we have to prioritize folks who are current LAV and STOP grantees, and we encourage potential grantees to join ASISTA as private members in order to facilitate, that full access to TA. But if you are a potential grantee who would like to request TA from ASISTA, the way you can do that is by emailing Maria or myself, and our emails are in the last slide of this presentation. Please also feel free to contact Maria if you have questions about how to join ASISTA as a member. For OVW TA, so that is for organizations that do have STOP or LAV funding, you have to have both the right type of funding and it has to be the correct type of immigration case. So it has to fit into a certain category. Like Maria said, The immigration case does have to be either based on, related to, or arising from domestic or dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. And that does include cases where the principal petitioner has suffered one of those crimes, and then the case, the client case you're asking about is the derivative child, for example, of that principal petitioner. This rule means that, say your organization receives LAV funding and you have an immigration case where the U visa qualifying crime is felonious assault and there's no relationship to any of these four crimes. In that case, you wouldn't be able to request OVW TA for that particular question because it's not one of those four crimes. But if your organization also has an ASISTA membership, because there are lots of folks who have both, then you would be able to request TA by using your individual membership rather than through the OVW form, if that makes sense. Please, if you have questions about whether a case is considered OVW TA, because sometimes it can be, a case-by-case assessment, please feel free to contact me and I'll be happy to talk it through with you. If your case is eligible for OVW TA, we do ask that you schedule it using the OVW calendar in our TA appointment system. You'll see when you log in that there's a bunch of different options for TA. There's like individual TA, emergency, group, and there's one that's called OVW, and it mentions for LAV and stop grantees and sub-grantees only, individual TA. That's the form that you would use if you would like to request OVW TA. And we do ask that you do that if the case is eligible, even if you are a private member, both for funding purposes for us, as well as you're often able to get a faster appointment that way than if you schedule it using the individual form. Next slide, please. So how does TA work? The information on this slide applies to both OVW and member TA. The process is the same for both. Most of our TA appointments are conducted over video using the Google Meet platform. So it's a one-on-one appointment with one of our ASISTA attorneys. We do offer written technical assistance over email in some cases for folks who need an accommodation and are unable to use the video system. Folks who request written TA will need to wait 10 days to get a response to their question. So there won't be an instantaneous response. The next few slides are going to walk through how you can actually request one of these appointments. Both of them are scheduled through our TA appointment system. So a written TA would not be requested through email. You would have to use the online system for that. You'll see here that you can ask short follow-up questions of the attorney who did your video TA. So for example, if you had a TA with me and you just wanted to clarify something that I said in the appointment, you could certainly feel free to email me with that follow-up question. But if you had a much more complex question or, a totally separate issue that came up throughout the TA, we would ask you to schedule a second appointment for that, just so things don't get too unwieldy over email. And if you do email a question that the attorney believes is too complex to answer over email, we will just ask you to schedule another appointment. And I will now turn it over to Leah.
Thanks, Kelly. Next slide, please. And now I'll be telling you how you can actually schedule that request for a TA. So as we stated, we do have this online system, so we don't take TA requests through email. Even for written TA requests, they do go through the online system to get that scheduled. So the first step would be to log into your account, and then you would go to what would you like to do on the right side of your screen from the member login page. And there you would select TA appointment system. In that, on that page, you'll see the different appointment types that Kelly mentioned, emergency TA appointments, group TA appointments, individual TA for private members, and then their OVW options either for group TA or individual TA. So you would click the button to schedule your TA appointment and choose the form that applies to your request. So if you are scheduling an OVW TA appointment that falls under the guidelines, you would choose the OVW form to schedule that appointment. There is also an option if you have previously met with Rebecca or myself for a TA and you have a follow-up that you would like to schedule and you want to make sure it is scheduled with the person you met with, you can choose that follow-up option. So there will be an option follow-up with Rebecca, follow-up with Leah. And that's how you ensure that it ends up on that specific calendar. There is an option too, if you want to follow up with Kelly as an OVW grantee, you would just still use that OVW form to get that follow-up appointment scheduled with her. After you choose your appointment type, select your time zone, which will then show you, the calendar will show you the times available to select. Want to note, if you are someone who's working remote and traveling, do be conscious of which time zone you're scheduling in. If you're not going to be in that same time zone when that appointment happens, have seen that sometimes occur where time zone confusion definitely does happen. So make sure you're choosing the appropriate time zone so that you know when your appointment actually is. There you would fill out the intake form. So there are certain questions requested to get information about what you're seeking. We do ask that you put as much information, relevant information, pertinent information as possible so that we know what your request actually is, so that the TA appointment will be as fruitful for you as possible as well. If you want to attach any documents, you can do that on that form as well. You can attach up to 3 documents. So for example, if the issue is a notice you received from USCIS that you want to talk through, you can attach that notice to the appointment so that it will come through to us to review for that appointment. Then you submit it all and that will schedule the appointment. You will get a confirmation email with a link to join the appointment if you are scheduling an individual appointment with one of us. Next slide, please. So emergency TAs. These are fairly limited in terms of what is defined as an emergency for purposes of a TA appointment with one of us. So there are 3 categories that qualify as emergency situations for purposes of an emergency TA appointment. And those are on your screen. Imminent removal. So that means removal will occur within 1 month. Imminent age out or imminent death, and that is age out or death will occur within 3 months. What is not an emergency is where there is an upcoming hearing or interview in your case, whether there's a deadline in the case. If you are facing a case deadline, we do ask you schedule it as a regular TA appointment as soon as possible, because a deadline is not an emergency basis for an emergency TA request. And I also want to note here, this will be especially true as the COVID extensions have expired for any notices, whether that be RFEs, NOIDs, notices of intent to revoke, or if you're going to file an I-290B in a case, any notice dated March 24th or later has now reverted back to the deadline in that notice. The COVID extensions expired as of March 23rd. So please be aware of that. And if you are facing that deadline, try to get an appointment as soon as possible, but it won't fall under an emergency request. Similarly, if the client has an outstanding removal order for several years, and maybe there's concern because they want to file something affirmatively now, or there's just general concern about what the effect of that removal order is, that is not the same as an imminent removal within 1 month. And so that would not qualify as an emergency. Also, whether a case might be denied, leading to a possible notice to appear. And though we mentioned upcoming hearing where there's a hearing that you're not sure what the result will be, that also would not fall under imminent removal per the definition. This is really important to keep in mind. If you do schedule an appointment as an emergency and it doesn't fall under these guidelines, we will cancel your appointment and ask you to reschedule appropriately, either as an OVW TA if that applies, or an individual private TA appointment. So please keep that in mind as you schedule. And again, if you have questions about that, you can reach out to us ahead of time. All right, I will pass it to Rebecca.
Next slide. Thank you. And thanks, Leah. Hi, everybody. So as Kelly and Leah mentioned, ASISTA also offers group TA sessions for OVW grantees. And these happen about once every other month. And in a group TA call, you will get to review your TA question with your fellow grantees and sub-grantees, as well as with ASISTA staff. So to participate, you still need to have the right kind of funding and the right kind of case to be able to sign up for OVW group. Here, the specifics of that funding and case type are the same as an OVW individual TA. You can only do an OVW group TA if the case is based on, related to, or arising from domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. The idea behind group TA is that rather than getting an answer from one ASISTA attorney, this would be an opportunity for grantees and sub-grantees to strategize and brainstorm together, learn from each other, and get information about trends and updates in the field. But since other participants in the call won't have the chance to review your question before the session, and for confidentiality purposes for your client, group sessions are going to be best for questions that do not require document review. In addition, and I'm going to jump down one bullet point here, group sessions also are designed to last 90 minutes and get through answers for up to 8 attendees in that time. So that means there is somewhat limited time available for each question. And so very complex questions, or again, anything requiring document review, this would not be well suited for this setting. Instead, a complex or document review question should be reserved for an individual OVW TA appointment. Jumping back up a bullet point, you can sign up for a group TA session by registering through the normal TA appointment system and selecting a group TA for OVW LAV grantees, sub-grantees, and staff sub-grantees. If you successfully sign up, you will receive a confirmation email with a Zoom link to join the call. Please note that when you're doing this, if the next group TA appointment with open slots is more than 60 days away, then no date is going to show up as available. And if you see no dates, that means the soonest group TA is probably full. You can write down the dates of all planned group TAs that you see at the bottom of this slide for your reference later. Then you'll be able to register closer to the time of that next group TA. So right now we have groups scheduled to take place on April 10th, June 13th, and August 8th. And so because June 13th and August 8th are more than 60 days away right now, you wouldn't currently be able to see those as an option if you tried to make an appointment today. But if you got on the system on like April 14th, you would be able to schedule an appointment for a June 13th group TA call. And the reason the last date is currently August 8th is that, as Kelly mentioned, our current OVW grant does end in September. ASISTA will be applying for a renewal of the grant. And if it's approved, we would anticipate we'd be able to resume TA calls the next grant term and would potentially be adding more group calls at that time. Next slide, please. So we also offer similar group TA sessions for members. If you don't receive OVW funding or are not asking about a case type based on related to or arising from domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking, then this would be the type of group TA call that you could schedule, as long as you are an ASISTA member. As with OVW group TA, there is limited time available for each question in this setting. So again, very complex case questions, questions requiring document review are not going to be well suited. These types of questions should be reserved for individual TA sessions. And if you sign up for a group TA and it appears that your question is quite complex, too complex to answer in this setting, we may contact you and request that you reschedule for an individual session. As before, the method for submitting a TA question and registering for a member group TA slot is through the regular TA appointment system. Currently, we are offering private member group TA sessions monthly, every 4th Wednesday. So for these, the time frame is again 90 minutes per session, and we actually take a few more attendees than for OVW group calls. Maximum number here is 10 instead of 8. So it really is necessary to consider whether your question is appropriate for a group rather than a fact-intensive situation or a complex legal question that would take a long time to get into or only apply to one very specific client situation. Instead, please try to choose questions that you'd like input on from other practitioners, maybe about their experience with a certain issue or a certain location, or choose simple questions that are easy to ask in just a few words. As always, when you schedule a group TA session, you will receive a confirmation email. It will contain a Zoom link to join. And as noted, the current schedule is that we hold these every fourth Wednesday of the month, unless there's a scheduling conflict for the ASISTA staff member, in which case a different day will be designated and noted in the TA registration system. Next slide, please. So finally, ASISTA does very strongly believe that live TA calls, where a question and answer can take place in real time, are the best ways to make sure that all questions about a particular scenario can be addressed thoroughly and accurately. In a live call, you can clarify facts for the ASISTA attorney that might affect their answer, and the ASISTA attorney can clarify their recommendations for you if you don't understand it initially, or if you have follow-up questions, or if you think that the advice might not be quite contemplating all the relevant facts initially. That said, however, we do still offer the written TA format in very limited circumstances, like Kelly said. So the primary reason for a written TA will be for a person who requires a disability accommodation. So it's for people who might not be able to hear well or share information verbally. To do this, it's very similar to the description of how to register for any other type of TA. You're going to log into your ASISTA account. You will not be submitting these through email. On the right, you'll go to what would you like to do and select TA appointment system. Then select the accessibility option link. Then you'll select written TA. And you can, this time your time zone really doesn't matter. You can select any time because it's a written TA, it's not for an actual appointment. And you will fill out the intake form, attach any applicable documents you may have, and click submit. You will again receive a confirmation email, and your question will be assigned to an ASISTA attorney who will respond within 10 days. So again, it will look in the system like it's for an individual date, but it's not for that date. You'll just get the response within 10 days, not the date that you select. And just a note, unfortunately, we are not generally able to do significant follow-up exchanges after a written TA. So if you receive a response from us and you realize you have more questions or you need clarification, you may be asked to schedule a new TA appointment and either attend a video call this time, or if an accommodation is still needed, you may have to wait an additional 10 days for a response. And that delayed back and forth written response timeframe is again why we switched to verbal TAs, so that in general, you can do all your follow-up questions in the same half-hour video call where you ask your questions to start. All right, next slide, I'll pass it back to Kelly.
Let's review webinars. Kelly, that's yours, right?
Thank you. So ASISTA conducts a webinar about once every other month as part of our OVW training and TA grant. These webinars are free and available to attend live for many folks, both organizations that receive LAV or STOP funding, as well as organizations that meet that potential grantee definition, even if they are ASISTA members. So there's a difference with the potential grantee rules for TA and for OVW webinars. So again, OVW TA, you have to meet that potential grantee definition, and you cannot be a private ASISTA member to attend an OVW webinar. As long as you meet that potential grantee definition, you can attend an OVW webinar live, even if you're also a private ASISTA member. Attorneys and staff at entirely private law firms cannot access OVW webinars live. And the reason for that is because of the funding conditions that are placed on us as part of our OVW TTA grant. That said, the general public can access recordings of OVW webinars on ASISTA's publicly available YouTube channel. And I'm going to pop the link to that channel here in the chat. And we do post all of our webinars on that channel. Most recently, the webinar from March 14th is on there in both English and Spanish. Unlike our private webinars, our OVW webinars are presented through the Zoom system using services from an organization called TA to TA, and that is the organization that OVW uses for all of their TA grantees who present webinars. So TA to TA staff are the people who help primarily troubleshoot technical issues that folks have during the webinars, instead of ASISTA staff doing that. All of the webinars, again, are recorded. And like I said, they're open to the general public. The recordings and the materials are available on our website as well as on our YouTube channel, which I put in the chat. CLE credits are offered in Texas, and certificates of attendance for folks who are accredited representatives or who are barred in states other than Texas are available upon request, as long as you attended the webinar. And we do ask for all of our webinars, in order to be able to verify your attendance for CLE purposes, that you do put your full first and last name in the Zoom. Next slide, please. So our OVW webinar topics are pretty diverse. Some of the past topics included a webinar that we had in last April of 2022 on the impact of anti-Blackness on immigrant survivors. And we conducted that with our grant partners at Ujima Inc. We also did a webinar on representing U-Visa clients with complex issues. We've done a webinar on navigating systems with your immigrant survivor clients, and that was actually with all of our grant partners. We have 2 OVW webinars that are left for this grant period. In May, we're going to be conducting a webinar on the impact on survivors of DHS's new process for deferred action for immigrants who are involved in labor disputes. So that is, for example, immigrants who are involved in wage theft cases, or workplace safety violations or sexual harassment cases against employers. DHS came out with some new guidance earlier this year that allows those folks to request deferred action while the labor dispute is ongoing. And the purpose of that is to incentivize folks to participate in these investigations and assert that the rights that they have in the workplace. In July, our webinar is going to cover policy updates that impact immigrant survivors. So that will also be a very good and helpful webinar for folks. And we're going to be conducting that jointly with our grant partners at the Asian Pacific Institute on Gender-Based Violence. And now I will turn it over to Maria.
Thank you, Kelly. Let's review a little about ASISTA private member webinars, or we also call them ASISTA member CLE webinars. The attendance is free and limited to ASISTA private paid members. As Kelly was saying, we cannot let OVW grantees attend our private webinars for free, nor our private members can attend OVW webinars unless they are also OVW grantees or potential grantees. Anyone that is not an ASISTA member can attend ASISTA private webinars by paying a fee. We offer individual fees or agency fees. This is why when you register for a webinar, for an ASISTA webinar, member webinar, you will not receive the approval notice right away. You will see a Word document with instruction for payment. So if you need to pay, that's your opportunity for you to join the webinar. And if you are an ASISTA member, you will get an approval on the webinar in a couple of days. I'm the one that reviews the webinar registration. And if your membership is not active, I will follow up with you about it before denying your registration. We present the member webinar through GoToWebinar system. The system, our Neon CRM or database does not read our webinar system yet. There is a technical thing in there. So we will ask you to please register through our outreach pieces and not through the login or the portal of your Neon account. All webinars are recorded for both OVW and private webinar. And we provide about 10 webinars per year or so. We do have an evaluation at the end of all our webinars for OVW and for private members. We need input from you to plan our next calendar year. So if you have suggestions on topics or ideas, that's your chances to include the topic that you want ASISTA to be training you. As Kelly said, both type of webinar have CLE credits in Texas. For those attorneys that are bar in Texas, I will include the credits after completion of the webinar. For the OJ or for attorneys in other states, I can issue a certificate of attendance upon request and completion of the webinar. And this is why we ask you to please register with your name and last name and log in the webinar using that information, because we do need to keep records for a couple of years or CLE attendance. How do you register for webinars? So as I said before, technically there is a problem that we cannot connect systems for now. We are working on that, but the best way to register for any kind of webinar is through our ASISTA Connections bi-weekly newsletter. We send that out either Thursday or Fridays, twice a week, with links to private events, to OVW events, along with any other links for materials or for practice advisories, or call for examples, or any other work that we are doing during the upcoming months and during the past month. We will also have at the end of the presentation a review of how to log in visiting the ASISTA website. But if you follow these steps, you will find the link to register for webinars. You will go to the OVW website, OVW section in our website. On the membership, and the membership, there is a tab that is called OVW Grantees, and in there is one that says upcoming OVW webinars. OVW webinars are also accessible through the TA to TA calendar and through the STAR outreach communication email that is sent out by grant managers, I think, once a month. Private webinars are also on the ASISTA website, on the training sections webinar, and they are under the upcoming member webinar tab. All ASISTA sponsored webinars are recorded, and as Kelly said, ASISTA private members cannot participate in OVW webinars, but OVW webinars are accessible in our website section, in our OVW website section. All our webinars are recorded, and anyone can access webinar recording through our online store. After you register for each of the webinars, you will receive a confirmation email. For member webinars, you will see an email that is coming from Neon. It will say ASISTA webinar and the name of the webinar that you register. You will receive the same email 24 hours before the webinar and 1 hour before the webinar. Please keep the confirmation email handy to join the webinar the next day. The OVW webinars are presented to the Zoom platform, and we work with the TA to TA agency, and those are the ones that help us with the registration. You will also receive the confirmation email to Zoom 1 week before the webinar and the day before of the webinar. Because of accommodation and accessibility and language interpretation, the OVW webinars closes 1 week before the webinar. We ask you that as soon as you see the webinar outreach, please register. One person, one webinar. So the link to join the webinar is unique. One person, one computer, one webinar. If you share your link to any other person, you will not be able to access the webinar through the same link. If you are planning on watching a webinar in a conference or in a room setting, you can do that, but please send an email to me to let me know who are in the room if you will be requesting certificate of attendance, because we do need to keep CLE records for a couple of years. Let's keep going, and now we will go to Lisa. And is some of you monitoring the question? We don't have any questions?
Not yet, no.
We are awesome. Lisa, both ASISTA members and OVW grantee have access to the listservs that we have in there. We have one that is called ASISTA VAWA Update Distribution List. This is the one that replaces our 20 years old VAWA Yahoo group listserv. Yahoo stopped hosting groups, so we decided to transform this and a distribution list. Only ASISTA member can send email through the list. It's a one-way list where we send news, updates, invitation to events, and other communication. We have also the ASISTA expert list. This is a private list, only open to ASISTA members and LAV grantees, sub-grantees, and stop sub-grantees. The list is designed not to provide responses to basic questions. If you have any basic question, please submit a question through the TA portal. The list is intended for experts to share strategies with other colleagues nationwide. I do have on my task the mission to remove any person that is not a grantee or it doesn't have an active status on the membership. So please keep your dues active so I don't need to remove you from there. And we also have a U-Visa litigation group. This is a listserv that is focused on litigation strategies. I know there are some that uses as a way to ask questions on the U-Visa, but that's not the goal of our list, and we are monitoring the list very closely. This is a Google group list. Some of you sometimes have issues or restrictions on limitation of joining a Google group. And if that's the case, you can contact me and we can invite you to the list with a personal email. And how to access the listserv. You can, once you register with us, you will receive a welcome notice. The welcome notice has links to our YouTube channels, links of how to submit a question and instructions, link to complete for the listserv application online. And also on the website, there is a link to our listserv application. You need to read, review, and agree on the listserv rules, and I will invite you to the list. You need to accept the invite to complete the process. At the bottom of the slide, you can see two addresses. This is how you can find archives in the ASISTA expert group. And sometimes there are some bounce issues with your email. If that's the case, reach out to me and we see what are the problems and we fix it. And we will do the orientation. I don't remember, Kelly, it's now or later.
I think we could do it now. I think that works.
Okay, so the idea is to review the ASISTA website. I can show you where to go in to register for events and review the resource library and training. So bear with me 1 minute because I need to stop this and cancel this. Can you all see the ASISTA website?
Again, yes.
You can? Okay. So let me move. So this is our membership section. Let me see, because I have our control panel in the middle. This is where you have information about membership. I need to open this. Let me see how easy it is. This is where you have information about membership. This is where you can go straight to our practice advisory. This is where you can go straight to our training sessions. This is where you can go straight to our webinar sessions. You click in there and it will reroute to the other sessions. This is where you can register for the ASISTA listservs, and you can log in there to volunteer for some of our volunteer positions. Those are where you can join us. We have the individual membership with the solo practitioner, and we also have a membership for law students on level 3, the non-profit group memberships, and the law office group memberships. You can click on any other link and you will have the options to, it will open automatic our organization, the organization to register as an account. If you want to register for OVW webinars, you will go in here to register for our OVW webinars. You still can register here because it didn't end, but it will be white after tomorrow. But this is where you can go and visit and register for our events, for our OVW events. You can go in here to find all the OVW materials and recording that we do. So these are our YouTube channels. If you click in there, you see a link of all the webinars that we provided from since 2021 to 2023. This is this grant period. These are all our past grant periods. These are some resources that you can all have access, ASISTA products under the OVW grant. And this is where you can go and find links to each individual webinar in English and Spanish language when we have the language. And if you could click in here, I will not do it because it will send me to my G Drive, but you will have access to the index and to any material that is associated with the webinars. So you can go in here and review and access all the webinars. If you want to register for our in-person training on events, that's the place to go. We don't have it yet active, but we also have a pre-FBA conference on May 4th, and I believe tomorrow we will put it on the system. We are still finishing some logistics on our end. If you want to register for ASISTA webinar, you can do so in here. Our upcoming webinar for private member is on the 19th. You can register here. That will open straight our GoToWebinar platform. And if you open in there, you will have a little more information about the webinar, and you can also use this link to register. Resource library. We have double feelings about the resource library. Some people find it easy to access, others find it very difficult, but we are working. We are trying to reorganize the ASISTA website. You can go through any of the links to find information about the cases, or you can go through here. The organization is under immigration protection. We have the main legal remedies, and some AAO decision, court information, amicus brief, and sexual violence in the workplace. Under the resource library or the general resource library, you have the practice advisories and employment authorization and other information. And you have the ability to open and read from here, and I don't want to do it because it will open a few windows. So you can open the PDF from here and read it from here, or you can download the PDF. We also have different sections on news. Usually posts are put here, and call for examples are often are linking there. From there, if you go to the call for examples, you will have links where you can submit the examples that we are requesting. And we also have from some very places our online store. I don't remember if I mentioned or not, but the ASISTA member webinar recordings are part of the benefits for being a member. Please do not share those links, and you can refer any non-member to the ASISTA online store, and they can access all of our webinars. You can search per years or per event. Usually we have the virtual conferences and the year of the webinars, and you can take a look. By clicking there, it will just provide the explanation, and the moment that you click in there and you add it to the cart, you pay and you'll have it in your email. What else I'm missing from the website? Any more ideas? We have also,
think so. This has been really helpful.
We have also in here our Bright Horizon campaign and our sponsors. So if you play around, you can see more things. And we are always welcome. If you have any link that is broken or any information that we are missing, send an email. We always work on trying to improve. And see, we did this year very big, so you can You can see it and you can join on Facebook, on Twitter, and on our social media platforms. If no more question on the website, I go back.
Maria, I was wondering if we could show the member login page to access the TA system, what that looks like.
Yeah, and I did mine. Of course, we all have kind of a fake account to see from your side how you see things. So this is my fake account. So when you log in, if you want to submit a question, you will go to the login, you will put your email or your login information and your password. One thing that the system may do is try to reopen your prior account. If you see that you keep having the same account and you don't want, try to use a different browser. So this is my personal account. If you go in here, these are all the options that you can do in here. You can update the profile, you can set up login, change addresses, pay membership or review your membership. If you go in here, you will see all the memberships that I have. You can, I think we go back to the home. You can do the TA appointment system. I will open that. This is the one that I say, do not use it yet for webinars, use it for training, not for webinars, because we are working on making it work. And you can see donation. I think you can see all the registered events. You can also see when all the events that you participate in, you can see it from there. So let's do, this is the TA appointment system. And I'm sorry, do you see full screen? Because I don't see my screen full screen. Yes? Okay, awesome. This is what you see. Welcome, Maria Lazarino. This says that the membership is active. If this is inactive, you will not even able to have access to this link. This is the accessibility option. This is for written TA. This is, again, the explanation of OVW grantees, and we know it's confusing, and we know that there are other type of OVW grants, but these are the ones that we provide services during this grant period, and the TA, the clients that needs to be linked to the TA in order for you to get help, and the group call days. If you click in here, it will open the options of our TA. So that's emergency TA. This is the group TA for OVW grantees and stop sub-grantees. This is a follow-up with Rebecca. Individual TA. Follow-up and individual TAs with Kelly, who is the leading on the OVW TAs. Follow-up with Leah and the group TA of the fourth website. Do you want me to open one or none?
Sure, thank you. Just so folks could see what it looks like.
Let's do the emergency so we don't get confused. So this is that, and we have instruction in there. And again, when you register with us on the welcome notice, they have the link. You can copy those links and follow the instruction. And if you have any issues, I have the instruction with me. So we have an open TA. Well, no, let's not do the emergency TA. Well, let's do the emergency. On Friday, we are doing an emergency TA, so we will need to choose a time. Okay, let's pretend. We are truly making emphasis of what are the emergency TAs. We do TAs on the four bases, the three bases, I would say, imminent removal, death, or age out. So you will choose what of the options apply for you. Because I choose one, I need to put a day. There's a disclaimer in there. So we are truly trying to avoid you guys to register on emergency TA unless it's truly an emergency, because it takes us time to review and cancel the TA. So this is the disclaimer that you are saying that the TA is an emergency and you cannot move forward unless you say yes. If you are receiving OVW funds, you will click in here, you will choose in here, you will need to choose in here. And in this section, you need to put as much information as you have on your question and the problems that you have on your cases. And these are the options where you can upload a file. I think it is only PDF. You can upload only one file per option. And once you accept and complete, you will receive an email with instructions on the day that you need to call and with a link to join. There is also the possibility to reschedule the TA from the same email. If you decided that you fix a problem or if you need another day, you can reschedule from there. We also ask you to please use the same email address to set up the TA call that you have in your login, because this information is transferred automatic to our system if you use the same email. If you start using different email, we will need to manually do some additional work in here. And now let's see how I get out from here. No? Okay. Something else from here? Or we go back to the PowerPoint?
I think we can go back to the PowerPoint. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. Let's see how we do that. Okay, I think I need to stop share. Apologize for this. And I will share again. Don't know if there is any other question, Kelly?
I don't see any, no.
Okay. You see my PowerPoint again?
Yep.
Okay, so let's keep moving. And I think this is Christina time.
That's right. Thank you, Maria.
Time to talk.
You did such a great job of explaining that no one has any questions.
I know.
So thank you for that.
Thank you, Christina.
All of you who've come before me. I think there's still some time after my next piece for questions. So we really do encourage folks who are wondering anything about what we said today to feel free to put their questions in the chat. Next slide. What other work do we do besides all of this TA and so many webinars and trainings? We also have a hand in policy affecting immigrant survivors. We submit comments to proposed regulations and policy manual updates. We were very busy doing this during the last presidential administration. And I believe that a lot of that work is still on our website, right, Maria? It's just under resources, general resources, in the resource library. There's general resources that has a link to advisories, newsletters, and Q&A, and then also policy advocacy and the other things. We additionally, we liaise with DHS components, meaning representatives of USCIS and OPLA currently. We have contacts at both sub-agencies, and we also work with together in collaboration with the ALA National UT and VAWA Committee for additional liaison engagements. And congressional staff, sure, so that we can advocate on behalf of survivors. We're currently working on, expanding appropriations for backlog purposes, for backlog relief purposes in the budget that's now being considered by Congress. We're working with the Alliance for Immigrant Survivors, which is a group that we co-chair along with API-GBV, who is also our OVW partner, and Esperanza United, which is also our OVW partner, and Tahare Justice Center. So together we, the four groups, like convene a call every month for interested people from organizations representing immigrant survivors and interested in weighing in on policy and joining working groups can join. It's a monthly call. It happens the first Wednesday of every month. If you are interested in joining that call or getting updates from the Alliance for Immigrant Survivors, please let us know. Feel free to email me at christina@asistahealth.org. And also you can access updates. You can join the mailing list for updates from the Alliance for Immigrant Survivors on the website. So as part of that work we do engage in some of these high-level policy budget conversations, and also alert the field as to policy changes such as the recent development of a deferred action for immigrants making labor based workplace complaints. And we were glad to release a policy alert with our partners in AIS. And as Kelly noted, we also put together a specialized webinar on that new policy. So that's one part of the additional work that we do. We also produce practice advisories and practice pointers, some on larger sort of like larger systemic issues, as well as some smaller administrative changes, both of which we recognize the importance of. You can access those in our resource library through general resources, where there's a link to advisories. They will also be included in updates and be circulated on our listserv and biweekly updates. So you shouldn't miss them, but if you do, you can find them by going through the resource library on our website. Let's see. Additionally, we offer we convene and facilitate a local and state advocacy working group that Leah Ocasio is our lead facilitator for. In that group, we share strategies for and discussion of local and state issues affecting survivors, and specifically immigrant survivors, and specifically ways that state and local policy can be leveraged to protect immigrant survivors and facilitate their needs in the United States, in the specific states where they're located. This was something that started again under the last administration, when state and local efforts became more and more important in order to, preserve the protections that immigrant survivors or do under the immigration law and under VAWA. As part of that work and part of OVW work, we provide training for local and statewide DVSA and immigration coalitions. And Kelly and I did that recently in Kansas. And we were joined by practitioners and advocates from nearby states as well. We presented an overview of immigration relief options for immigrant survivors, and also had with us several panelists who worked locally, who were able to advise advocates about how to best interact with the local field offices, including the local ICE field office. So we welcome additional requests for similar kinds of trainings, and also on-site TA. So as part of our OVW grant, we are eligible to provide a limited amount of on-site TA and training, meaning that we can go to your location and do this work with you in person. So if you're interested in that, please let Kelly know at kelly@asistahealth.org. Yes. And finally, litigation, last but not least, in 2019, I think we sued the government to stop the Alphans policy that would have increased removals of immigrant survivors with U visa petitions, and actually did unfortunately result in several removals of people with pending applications, some of which were granted. But we sued them, and you know, in the new administration, the case settled because the Biden administration produced the victim-centered approach guidance, which we've shared out in a practice advisory soon after that. So that's an example of systemic litigation that we've done on behalf of immigrant survivors and issues raised by practitioners to us. We can also match folks with mentors, or what I've been doing recently is putting folks together who are thinking about litigating the same things. So if you're interested or have questions about litigation, or if anyone is thinking of litigating a particular issue, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to ask around or connect you to others who are thinking of the same things. Yeah. I think that's all, but that's not all. We do.
Christina.
Thanks.
I wanted to address, we have a question here in the chat from Tanisa, that we have a lot of issues with U visas getting certified with local law enforcement officers. Do you do trainings to law enforcement agencies? So that is a great question. This is something that we can consider doing in appropriate cases. If the law enforcement agency reaches out to us, or if there's a community-based organization that, you know, has talked to the law enforcement agency about a training. With ASISTA, we did train some law enforcement agencies, most recently in the border regions, the Southern Rio Grande Valley in Texas, at the end of February. Rebecca and I did that. So this is something that we can consider doing. Another great place to talk about law enforcement certification issues is the state and local working group with Leah.
And I wanted to add to that, yes, Tanisa, I see your question, and wanted to add that that's a topic of discussion that comes up often at the state and local working group. So I encourage you to come to that and check it out. And also we are having a conference in person just before the FBA conference in May that will address U visa certification statutes and ways to enforce them, and also we'll address strategies to work with law enforcement like agencies to advocate for certifications as well. So keep an eye out for that, and if you're in the area or able to come, we would love to talk to you more about this and what you're seeing.
Thanks, Christina. And for those who are interested, that will be the pre-FBA conference will be in the Washington, D.C. area.
And
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just clarifying on May 4th.
May 4th.
May 4th. Keep an eye out for our announcement.
I believe by tomorrow we will have the outreach on that out. And the space is limited. We have only space for 45 participants this time around. So if you are really interested, book, keep your place, because it's really no more than 45 this time around.
So now that we have some time left, we have about 8 minutes. We wanted to open it up to discussion with you all. What other services or products would you like to see from ASISTA? We're really interested in hearing what you all have to say. You know, we do this because of immigrant survivors. We do this because of our members. So we're really interested in making sure that we're meeting the needs of our members and grantees. We encourage you to participate either through the chat or for those who would like to participate by, actually speaking, you could message one of us in the chat and we can unmute you. This is also a place that if you have any lingering questions, please feel free to ask those as well.
And while we wait for the questions, I will put in there the slide with our email addresses in case you want to take a picture or start emailing us.
Got some very nice messages in the chat. Thank you to both of you.
Yes, thank you, both of you. And we welcome comments such as those as well as questions. Thank you.
So we have a question from Lupita. It says, how do you know what kind of grant we have? Contact your grant manager or contact your financial person in the organization. They will let you know which grant. We have a list of grantees. If you want to send me an email after that, I can check if you are in our list. But if not, we don't have a list of stop grantees, but you can contact any financial or administrative person in your organization and they will know where the money is coming from.
It's a great question. Sometimes supervisors might know as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should, or if your organization is big enough to have a separate contract or grant manager, they'll have the grant number and they should know the status and the type of the grant and what it covers. There are some larger agencies where the OVW grant covers different services than the immigration legal services, but you should still reach out to Maria and can talk about whether any of our services are covered.
And also sometimes you are listed as sub-grantees, even if your organization didn't know the full application, doesn't mean that you don't get grantees. If you are mentioned in any of other organizations that receive funds as a partner, for us, it counts as a grantee.
Right. And then again, remember Kelly's discussion of potential grantees, and that being a newer category of organizations that we can serve.
So if you need to contact us for programmatic services, membership, benefits, grant information, broken links on the website, that's not my favorite, but I still can help you that. or any document that you need from the resource library. As I said, we are trying to reorganize the website, and hopefully this year is in our wish list to have a paywall for our private members. And hopefully that will make easy for private members to access private webinars. And if you have a specific question on OVW, is Kelly, the email is there. For non-related case questions, Christina and Leah, and Rebecca. For sponsorship, many things is Alam. General question, there is an email, question@asistahelp.org. And I was going to say something and I have a memory lapse. What else? So tomorrow we will send out the registration for our coming conference on May 4th, right before the pre-FBA. And there are some other outreach pieces on our Bright Horizon campaign. This year, ASISTA is turning 15 years. So we have some upcoming events along with the 5K that you all can register individually or as a team and support the organization and getting on shape for the summer. Right? So again, this is our link for our technical assistant. To get on the research, you can go on the website and complete the form or send an email to me, and I will help you with that. And I don't know if we don't have questions, if because we did such a good presentation.
Yeah, unless folks have any lingering questions, this is the chance to ask them. Otherwise, thank you to everyone for attending. We really appreciate your participation. And thank you for Maria for doing such a great job showing folks how to access the website and the TA system.
And one more thing, we will also be presenting the conference before the AILA. So this year, ASISTA is planning to have exhibition tables above FBA conference and AILA conference and free conferences for both days. So we are working on securing the places and on the
With different speakers, so
different speakers.
different speakers. So
So if you want to hear from Christina, go to DC. If you want to hear from others, go to Florida. But
I will be there with Kelly and also some partners that we work with at other organizations. So
and if you cannot join at the conference, stop at the tables and say hi to us. We will have some t-shirts and you can talk to us and take a picture, and then we put the picture in the website and we promote your business. And we can wrap it up. Something else? Or we see next one. Bueno, we can stop. Thank you guys. Have a good
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.